Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to today's conversation on Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sarah Jane, and I'm delighted to be joined by my co-hosts, Michael Overley. Michael, hi. And Scott Holmes. Scott.
Hey.
And our guest, Stefania Puleo. Is that right? Sorry. Sometimes I can be really bad at pronunciation, and I do apologize. I know it's important. Stefania, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And Stefania, bless her cotton socks, and that's an English saying, has agreed to join us, and it's 6:30 in the morning for her because she's in Australia.
Yes, I am. It's nice and early. It's wonderful. It's the best time of the day.
Yeah, we're all pretty much in agreement with that one. Stefania is going to be sharing with us about the masculine edge. And so I was delighted to get both of my gentlemen co-hosts as part of this program. I thought that was quite important to have it as that. But Stefania, please start by sharing a little about yourself and why this topic is so important to you.
Yes, the $1 million question. If I had a dollar for every question, every time I get asked that question. Well, basically, I've had a passion for helping men all my life. I did actually start off working with women, but my goal is to help men understand the truth about what women actually want. And what I do is I help them with getting the real inside information, because I call myself the female advocate. So I'm the advocate for men, where I can give them the real information on what women truly respond to, not only what they want, but what they truly respond to. Because as you know, I can attest for this, women say one thing but really mean another thing. So, poor men, they have to read between the lines, jumps and hoops. It's a lot of mind stuff. So what I do is I help them through powerful mind shifts, mindset shifts, like through communication, strategies, deep masculine embodiment through healing, because, men need healing just as much as women need healing. And I think this is one component that is overlooked. And in doing that, going within and working with self first and really diving deep into understanding what I call the divine masculine, and staying in that divine masculine, which then also, the women will remain in their divine feminine. So it's like this, this immersion, this integration with men and women by, I guess, knowing who they are first to then be able to connect, if that makes sense, without playing games, without, losing yourself through the process.
Bless you. Thank you. It's that book, isn't it? Is it Women Are From Venus, Men Are From Mars or something? Because we most of the time we just don't get each other, do we? Let's be honest about that.
Yes.
But we, as women, we have to be. Yeah, I suppose I'm just thinking about the book I did last year, and it was just like, I'm just trying to think what the title of one of the chapters was, and it's just like the women having to be sweet and having to be really careful but manipulative to get their own way with men. Why can't we just be open and honest? But there's so much for us to learn about each other and talking. I'd say that's got to be the most important thing for us to do, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Communication is key. I always say if we're unable to communicate, firstly to ourselves, we have to know thyself. We have to really go deep and know what triggers us, what makes us happy, what makes us sad, and being aware. And once you're aware, you can do something about it. And if you do something about it, then, they say knowledge is power. Well, knowledge plus action is power, because you can be knowledgeable. You can be, because we're in an intake of knowledge, information. It's all about processing and understanding and taking it all in, but not actually putting it in practice is where I think we fall behind. Because if we can embody it and become that, then you know who you are. You're not influenced or driven by what the external world is saying. I think there's this groundedness about it. And I feel men, unfortunately, through society, through the changes, they're kind of like being pushed to this corner. And yeah, I feel for them. And it's just, I guess it's going back and healing those trauma wounds. And it may just even be as far back as generational trauma. It goes really deep. So when I do work with my male clients, it is quite deep. And I work with energy, and I'm a certified hypnotherapist as well. So I use a modality, like a combination, because not all one thing suits all. It's not like a cookie cutter. I have a course, a program. They all go into that one program and they all do the same thing. No, I actually work with men individually, because everyone has an individual experience, journey, their filtering system. We all got different internal filtering systems. So we see the world, the external world, the internal world, totally different to anyone else.
Yeah. Michael.
Oh, I love this. I've hosted a couple of summits trying to work with men. And I was explaining to our folks over here earlier, I have all these manuscripts that I've started and run around in my head. And it is so vital that we find a way to get through to more men, not in a way of, as I framed it before, pulling their heads out of their you-know-whats, but understanding that their life can be so much better and so much different with just, as you said earlier, awareness. If you don't know that you're doing the thing, you can't change the thing. And that they're not bad because of it. They're not broken because of it, but their life can be what they wanted it to be. If they could understand that some small changes could get them down a different path. So yeah, love it.
Absolutely. I think you just said something key there, where the awareness, you don't know what you don't know, what you don't know. And, when you don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know, but let me find out. Let me find out. And this is what I say to men all the time. Get into that curiosity. It's just being curious. You don't have to be an investigator. And even when it comes to interacting with women, because both men and women do it, but we go within, we go into the mind and the personality, and we just start processing. We start analyzing, we start compartmentalizing. If I do this, well, then how will she react? And maybe that's not what she likes. And it's all about the external, rather than being comfortable with self, that it's okay to be mean. It's okay to, feel awkward or feel vulnerable in front of a woman.
Love it.
It's these preconceived ideas that we have, and it all stems back from childhood, or what was modeled to us back then, how we were conditioned to think, and again placed into those molds that this is the right way to be as a man or as a young man growing up. And yeah, it's really unfortunate. There's no room for exploration. So I encourage that. I encourage the playfulness. And this is where we, do the inner deep work for those that are ready and doing inner child healing. I just see it in men. The little boys, I call it the little boy within that just wants to come out. He wants to play. He's like this little boy in this man body, and is forbidden to be that playful young man again.
Although I've had so many women 40 and over who've said to me, "Where are all the men? I only see boys dressed up in men's clothing." So so many times, because they haven't been modeled about how to be a man. And it took me till I was really probably 60 years old before I understood the connection between here and here. As men were taught, you have to think right, you have to be right, you have to, and men are very insular. They're not taught to be social. They're taught to be very insular and secure and independent. And so when they go to problem solve, they problem solve themselves. I think you find it that women are much more social when they come to problem solving. They ask people, their friends, their mothers, their girlfriends, whoever, what is the answer to the question? And so the funny thing is I do men's work, but most of my clientele is women. And I am eternally grateful that they feel comfortable with me to be able to be open, honest, and vulnerable with me about in talking about that. But they just tell me I have a lot of dad energy, so it's okay. So in doing that, what you say about men in healing, I do a lot of work with inner masculine and inner feminine. And the funniest thing is when you tell a man that in order to be a better man, you have to find your inner feminine. And there has to be a balance there, whether it's men or women. There has to be a balance between that inner masculine and inner feminine. We all have those traits. We all have those parts of us. And when they're in sync is when we're in a much better place. I've often found that the relationship they have internally with inner masculine, inner feminine projects in how they are in relationships. That when it's their balance, they can accept somebody else. When they're in balance, they can be there for somebody else. Otherwise, there is that separation. The question I have, what have you found with younger men or older men? Michael and I both do work with men, and we found that women take on more of a masculine aspect because men aren't there for them to provide that, so they have taken more of a masculine. How do we train men to be there, and how do we model it for them? That's always been the case, I think, in the interviews I've done with men, is they never know what that line is, where, how to be that man fully.
Well, that's a great question. And I answered something like that in one of my recent YouTube videos. I have my own YouTube channel. It's called The Gentleman's Square, if anyone wants to look it up. But I always say it's going within, because men have that innate masculine energy in them. They already have it. It's not like they have to go out and search for it or try and develop it. It's like in your DNA. It's right there. What's happened, I believe, it's been pushed. They've been suppressed. They've been conditioned by the external, whether it be social media, your environment, your family, what they're hearing, television, radio, that this is where men are meant to be now. Because women have a voice. And, I believe men, just as much as women, they need love. They need to be seen. They need respect above all. You give them that respect, you're going to get peace in the family. You're going to have peace in that relationship. It's those two vital things that men want. And I'm not sure. You may agree with me or you may not as men, but, respect and having that peace. And I think what happens is, whether it be women or men, they get into their isolation, and they're in their ego self, they're in their personality, they're in their lower vibration, that it's all about me. It's all about survival. It's all about not thriving together, but just, if I don't get this from him or her, I'm not going to make it. It's like this dependency. So when a man can actually go within and really find that inner core, which, how do you find it? Well, I believe it's not just by reading books or listening to podcasts or listening to people. It's actually doing the work, the internal work. And it's going to be hard. It's not easy. I agree, it's not easy. Women are more open to that, because I'd say, we endure a lot of pain and we're very emotional. I'm not saying men are not emotional, but, physical pain, like giving birth, the emotional highs and lows, the menstrual cycles we go through. It's just like, list goes on and on and on, right? So we're more equipped to handling these. Men aren't as much. So this is where I think when men are really ready to do the work, they will be able to do it because they have it in them. They can ground, they can step into that power. It's like going in and just drawing it out and saying, oh, I have got the light.
When do you find that men come to you? Because what I found is that usually men have to hit a bottom in their whatever ism they're going through, whether it's alcoholism or whatever it is, or through divorce or through trauma or through death, that they don't get to a point where they need to change. My father was 82 years old, and he figured that he stopped changing when he was 17 years old, and he was going to be the same the rest of his life. So how do you find men when they come to you? What is the button? What is that pain point that where they come to you and say, help me?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I see it all the time, and the best thing I can do is give them space. I always say, they will catch up within time. There's some that do, there's some that don't. There's some that wake up. You've heard the expression, you could be dead at 40, but be buried at 90. So they're living this whole life, like 50 years, 60 years, spiritually dead, mentally dead, physically dead for some too. But then they get buried at 90. They're not living. So when do they come? Well, I do have, some men that come to me because I have strategy calls. I always have a strategy call to see where they're at, qualify them, whether they're ready to do the work. Not all men are ready. Some men are really ready. Like they're there. First up, they're like, I want to get this fixed. This is just like, they can see what it's costing them now and what it's going to cost them in 12 months, 5 years, 10 years from now, emotionally, physically, and financially for some. Others, they listen. They know there's a problem, but they think they can fix it. And it's like, oh, I can put up with it. I've put up with it for so long, 10 years, 20 years. I can put up with it. Or what's the use? I've done 20 years of this already. Like, what's going to change? You see, that program, it's a program that they are running in their minds. That's all it is. It's a program. It's like your computer, you have to update it every so often. It pops up, doesn't it? And says, hey, you need an update here. What do? Just let it go for the next 5 years? No, we update it. We put so much energy into our digital appliances, everything else, our cars, our houses. But the investment we put in ourselves is far less compared to what we're doing to maintain everything else externally in our lives. So to answer your question, it's all very varied. Unfortunately, there's more, I would say, men that, they're skeptical, they're not sure, this is all new to them. Their fathers never went anywhere for help. Why should I go for help? It's like, what's so different now? But if we look back, like back in time, way back into tribal times, cave, men that were the warriors, the men had communities that they could go to and get that support and work on themselves, whether it was physically, mentally, spiritually. They would have the medicine man or the medicine woman that they would go and visit to heal or recharge. Same thing. When you're going out to get, now we have therapists, we have coaches, we have counselors, we have a lot of things. Same concept. It's just that it's the program that's been installed and it's still running.
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah, I've done some work with special forces operators, and real tough guys, right? Not like most of us who want to think we're tough. And it's dumbfounding to me, the level of programming and conditioning, not just through familial generational aspects, but through the military society culture, and how some of these guys are so deeply ingrained to have that army of one mentality. And there's this shift to shame when they can't do that for themselves anymore. And I think that is so powerful, that the story they tell themselves, that because they can't uphold this level of structural integrity, as it were, it's just incredible. And I see it in so many ways in corporate cultures, in different parts of our society, how we're supposed to uphold this level of disconnection from ourselves, as it were, so that we can perform. And we're so afraid to actually see what's going on inside. And so we do this external focus where we can perform like good little monkeys, get our treats, and hopefully get a break for the night.
Yeah. And I think too, these, whatever it be, these, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the military or these different types of groups that men have, that they need to show up a certain way, is the language that they're hearing, which then is converted into their own self-talk. And it's all about push, punishment, no recognition, no celebration, no acknowledgement of self, no love for self, no compassion for self. And that's something that I really see. I'm actually running a men's group at the moment. It's actually called the Masculine Edge Hour with myself. And to see how men are not shown how to really love and appreciate and approve of themselves is just really sad. It's really sad.
So I'm doing 100 interviews with men between the ages of 30 and I've gone up to 86 so far. The 86 years of age. And it's called When Did You Become a Man? When did you become a man? So when I have a series of questions, and it's all about defining on what it means to be a man at different ages. Whether you're 32 or 52 or 82, what is your definition of a man? And we ask about role models and what their challenges were. And the very last question is, what is the role of a woman? And every time I ask that in the interviews, I get the raised eyebrows, I get the wide eyes, like, oh, I shouldn't be answering this. But the most thoughtful answers are always, she is a partner. She is always there. We are there to support each other equally. And it's that acceptance of the masculine, feminine, and how it combines that really makes a difference, I think, in the world of relationships, of marriages, and how they define their roles. You know, for years I did the shopping, I did the ironing, I would do dishes. You know, I because it wasn't, my wife hated the iron, but I did those things because we shared that. We took, whoever had the opportunity, we did that. So it was that mutuality. And I think that's what, I talk to some guys and it's like, well, that's not my role. That's not what I do. And I often ask them why. And it's because, well, their mother, that's what their mother did, right? That's how they defined it. That's how they were raised, how they were conditioned, how they were programmed. And your point about curiosity is an incredible one. When we're younger, everything is a possibility, right? When we're 8, 10, 12, 14, everything's a possibility. We have the world at our feet. We have the opportunities to do anything. We get to 25 and all of a sudden it all shuts down. I don't understand why curiosity shuts down. And oftentimes joy goes with it. All that joy that we had. I used to remember a summer day when school was out and just the joy of walking out the door and not having to go to school. That was joy. We could do anything. And usually found us getting into a little bit of trouble because we were overly curious about things. The pear tree in our neighbor's yard that he didn't want us to climb, and those kind of things. But it's, where do you see men stopping to think about themselves anymore? When do they just accept the roles that they're programmed into at 30 years old, and now they're good till they're 80? I guess, what are your thoughts on that?
When does it stop? Is that the question? When do they stop?
Yeah, when does it stop for men to? Because I've always been curious, so I have never pulled the stop on that, but I find that men do that an awful lot.
Yeah, I think that stops and they start to step into, being their authentic self is when they say it stops. It's as simple as that. It's when they choose. When they've really gotten to that threshold, that where they're being pushed up against the wall and they can't take it anymore, where they realize they don't have to fix everything. When they realize that they don't have to rescue everybody. When they realize that they can actually express what they feel and taking responsibility for that.
So much the same way, it's that safe space.
Yeah. Like you were talking about, you as a husband, you would iron, you would wash the dishes, you would do this or do that, right? And you did it because you loved your wife, and obviously she had other things to do, and you were working as a couple, right? Like as partners. Because I always say a relationship is a bit like a business. You have a business partner, you share everything. I think like you have roles. Some, one business partner has better strength, more strengths than the other, and the other has weaknesses, and where the other one's lagging, the other one picks up, right? So I'll give you an example, what I saw and what was modeled to me in my family. And my background's Italian, Sicilian to be exact. So southern Italy, and the man is the man, and the mother is the mother. She's the nurturer. She just does everything. And my father, being a Sicilian, he lived in Australia for 5 years before my mum came out, and then they got married. And so my mum, she took on the role of being the wife, the mother, the caretaker, the household. But then it came to a stage where she had to go to work because financially they just couldn't do it on one wage. They had one son, my brother. I hadn't come along yet. And mum used to work. They used to drop off my brother at not daycare, but they used to have babysitters that they used to drop off to someone's house, and that lady would have 2 or 3 kids she would look after back in the day. And my dad, because my mother would say, no, I'm doing everything. But then when she was working, she couldn't cope with doing everything, like working plus household. And, having this baby that they had to, 7 months, have it looked after. So my mum says all the time, my father would roll up his sleeves and wash nappies, because back then they didn't have disposables. We're talking, my brother's 64 years ago, right? So they had no disposable nappies. It was all cotton nappies, soak them in bleach, wash them, soak them overnight, then hang them up in the morning. Yeah, you did that too, right? And my dad would help my mother, the Sicilian man that, that was all put aside because he loved her. They had a joint venture in life, and he saw that she needed help. Now, my mum, on the other hand, if she had to get in the garden and help him in the garden, she'd do that too. She'd roll up her sleeves and put on her gumboots and do whatever she had to do to help my father in the garden, because, we had vegetable patch, we're Italians, we did everything, right? Everything was, or wash the cars, or whatever it was. So I saw this, that it didn't matter. There wasn't this, oh, I'm the man and I don't wash nappies, or I'm the woman and I don't take out the rubbish bin. No. And this didn't only happen then. It, even as my father matured, and even, till he's passed now, but he would roll up his sleeves and wash dishes because, come on, hurry up, Anna, so we can go. So he would know that, hey, if I didn't do, or if I didn't help and chip in, we would be getting there late or whatever. So it was a joint venture. There was none of this is my role, this is your role, this is communication.
And that's so important. My parents were always pretty good at helping each other. And but my second husband, and I heard it say, I think said so many times, is look at the individual's family. How are they? And this is exactly what happened with my second husband. While we weren't married, things were okay. It was certainly better than they were once we got married. He became his father. And his father, from what I could gather, actually didn't do anything around the house. My husband's mum had actually worked through helping his father change careers. And she'd gone out cleaning people's houses, doing people's ironing, etc., etc. Then she had all that to do when she got home. And he expected that. When we got married, that's what happened. To the extent, I don't know how often his parents actually talked, because bless her, she was a relatively simple soul. And he trained to be a teacher. And he loved learning languages and all sorts of things. So he was extremely intelligent, but in some respects and definitely not in others. And that's how my husband became. I was expected to get home from work and sort his dinner out. And then sitting at the dining room table, now he was more interested in watching the soap operas than having a conversation, because his parents didn't talk. He didn't think he had to talk to me. And so when I actually brought an end to the marriage, and it's just like, well, you obviously don't love me because you won't even speak to me. And do you know what his comment was? But I've got everything I ever wanted, and that includes you. Well, you could have fooled me. So that old saying from all those years ago of look at the family, look at how they are. How he is now with, and I know he's not sort of married to, well, I don't believe he's married to the lady that then sort of, but I'm hoping that he had sufficient of a wake-up call that he's been able to then have a really good relationship. But are any of us taught to love ourselves, whether we're a man or a woman? We're not. I wasn't. The insecurity is absolutely rife within me because of a childhood trauma. So in spite of family that worked together, my perception and understanding was I just didn't fit in the family. I didn't even know why I was there because of what happened. And it's finding ourselves, each and every one of us, male or female, it doesn't matter. It's find ourselves, find who we are. And that, hopefully what I ended up by having to do helped him to find himself rather than just being a sort of copy of his father. And trying to make me a copy of his mother, because I was never going to be that. But we've all got to be strong enough, haven't we, to love ourselves, look at what's happened in our past. What have we viewed? What have we witnessed? What is that programming that we've received? And is that something that actually we need to change? And find a different way. Because in this day and age, where both men and women are likely to be out at work, because they do require the two salaries coming in, it is important that we work together within the home. And if we don't have that, it's not a partnership. And the truth of the matter was, I felt like a slave in my own home. And that's what I gave. But I hope for him, life's got better.
Yep. And often what happens is, for those that are not aware, they'll just keep going and doing the same thing, same behaviors, same expectations, same habits, expecting a different result. Well, you might have a different woman or a different man, if that's the case for a woman, but you'll get the same result because you're not changing. It's like what Einstein says, insanity is expecting doing the same thing but expecting a different result. So and again, I go back to, it's only when the pain is great, so painful, so I can't take this anymore, two things happen. You either get uncomfortable and do something different, like really look for change, or for some, unfortunately, and statistics show there's a higher rate in men actually committing suicide. And that's the sad part, because they die with that pain inside them. They die with their music inside them because they haven't really stepped into being who they really want to be. And that's the sad part, because that's the easy way out for some. Like, I'm going to end my life. I'm going to be out of this misery, out of this debt, out of being criticized, out of everything that they're suffering. And so it only happens when you make that choice and things get bad enough. And sometimes, as hard as this may sound, it has to get that bad for some. You have to hit that rock bottom, because it's only then, because the only way to move then is going back up, because you can't get any further than what you are. So you're forced. And it's whether you wake up to see, okay, don't take it on as being poor me, being the victim. Look at it as feedback and fuel that back into that anger, that sadness, that all that grief, fuel it into helping you rise again. That's what I believe.
Michael.
I had to hit more than one bottom. A big drinking problem didn't stop me from showing up as a weenie in the world. When my older brother died, that's what took me out. He was the only man in my life that ever really saw me and just loved me for who I was. And so when I lost him, that took me down, all the way down to foundation. And I did not like what I saw. I didn't realize previously how I was actually showing up in the world, how much of my insecurities, my anger, and sometimes rage was coming out and just spilling out. I just thought that was normal behavior. So it was quite interesting to see myself from this whole new perspective and realize I don't want to live this way anymore.
How are you finding when you're running a men's group, Stefania? How do you find when they show up? What is it that they're looking for when you're in a men's group like that?
Okay, so my men's group's been running for 5 weeks now. And of course, in the beginning, it's like, we have a female running the group. Because that's not normal, really, is it? It's like men hang out with men's group. And it's really interesting. Before I started my group, I reached out to so many other men's groups, like communities here in Australia. Like we have, I don't know if you have the men's shed, the men's cave. We have a lot of men's groups. And I didn't want to, I just wanted to go in and be like a guest speaker. Sometimes they have guest speakers. I said, I'm happy to come in and just have a chat and encourage men. I don't want to put men down. I want to encourage them and show them that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And you know how many times I had the door closed on me?
No doubt.
It's like, who do you think you are? Where'd you come from? What, have you got rocks in your head? That's an Australian term. I don't know if you have that over there in the States. And it's like, what is wrong? Why? I just was in this, why not? Why can't I just come? I mean, I've got a lot of knowledge, and I'm a woman, and I know what women, how they maneuver and become those slippery fish sometimes for men that just does their head in. I can enlighten them. Nope, there was no way. So I said, okay, what do I do? So I persisted for a while, but obviously I realized that doing the same thing was giving me the same result. I needed to change. So I took on my own advice and said, you know what? I'm going to start my own group. I'm going to do this. So I did. And so I have 7 men at the moment and growing, which is great, my 5th week. And so what do? I have a combination of things. I make it varied. We have Q&A, but the Q&A, I haven't enforced it yet because they're all new. It's like, what do we talk about? Men aren't really out there and open to asking questions as much as women. So I have what I call a healing session beforehand. And what does that look like? It may be an alchemy healing session. I talk about something first. For example, last week was on self-worth. And then I did an alchemy around that. This week I did the masculine presence, just being present. And what I do is talk for about 15, 20 minutes, and then I take them through a guided meditation. The week before was a hypnosis as a collective. And in the healing sessions, I do muscle testing. So I test the collective group to see what the group needs. And you know what, Michael, Scott, and Sarah, they love it. They love it. They just sit there and they're like sponges. And then we have a bit of Q&A at the end. They ask questions or they share. And now what I've started is they come on 15 minutes earlier and they have a chit chat between them because they love, they're getting to know each other. They're getting acquainted and they love to have that talk. So I don't want to have like where I'm controlling the room all the time. It's an open space. It's a safe space. And what I'm going to introduce is some, breakout rooms where I give them little activities to do and I pair them off, whether it be in 2s or 4s as the group grows. And they can role play because I think learning a new skill, a new communication language is a great ways by role playing, practicing it, doing the reps, exploring. And if they can explore with someone that, they feel comfortable with that I don't know, and it's like there's no emotional attachment, it gives them the confidence that, hey, yeah, I did it. I was able to think that through. I was able to, or activities where one speaks and the other one just listens. So we're practicing listening skills. Yeah, where we don't have to fix. We don't have to suggest. We don't have to rescue. Yeah, because that's what, men love doing. They feel, men want to feel needed. Women want to feel wanted. And if a man is needed, I believe they're just in their glory. They're just like, yeah, I'm here. Like, allow me to help you. And this is where it gets a little bit misconstrued and a bit warped, I think. Where now in today's society, women are not allowing men also. It's like, I got that. You want to think I can't do it? Or, a gentleman opening, I saw it in front of my eyes where we were walking into this building and a gentleman just ran up in front of this woman who was in front of me and opened the door for her. And she snapped back and said, I've got that. What do you think? I can't open the door? I went, no. Totally squashed him. Well, hence why men are like, I'm not going to get up and give you a seat, or I'm not going to open the door for you. But this is what I say to men. Know who you are, and what other people's opinions of you will not matter. You keep doing what you do because that's part of you. That's what makes you feel good. Now, whether that's accepted and appreciated is irrelevant. So you don't need to do because you are going to be acknowledged or there's going to be a good opinion of you. You do because that's what feels right to you. You're in alignment and in your authentic self. And that's all that matters. So don't be disheartened.
I've had that happen to me before. I've offered somebody, and the woman has looked at me and said, I get this myself. I don't need you. Or opening a car door for somebody, or just helping. It doesn't matter my intent. It matters how they receive it. So
Right.
I just say, okay, no problem. I'll help the next person.
Yeah. What I encourage men to say, and because when it's happened to them, they say, oh, like they just shut me down. I say, I know you got it. I just like to do it for you.
Yep.
That's it. I want to give you a gift, whether you see it or not. And if they still don't want it, well, then that's fine. Just let it go. But it's like, it's okay. I know you can do it. And plus more. And this is what I say to women. I say, it's okay to receive. It's okay to say thank you. It's okay to smile back because he's smiling at you. It's only a smile. You don't have to, spiral down and think he wants to sleep with me, because that's what a smile now is interpreted as a sexual invitation. No, since when? Do you know what I'm saying? See how our internal filtering system is just broken. It's broken. And that's why we're having all these assumptions and mental breakdowns and spiraling down the dark hole of what that means.
Bless you. Thank you, Stefania. I'm going to come to each of you because we're coming very close to the end of the program.
Yes.
So any final sort of thoughts, or words, Michael?
Oh, yeah. Everybody give yourself a big old break. We've all been conditioned and programmed in our own ways by our families and our individual cultures, societies, workplaces. If something doesn't feel right to you, just pay attention to that. There might be something you can lean into. If you see something about yourself you don't like, that's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up about it. Decide if you want to change that. You don't have to make it so hard.
Scott?
For the men out there, just know that dealing with emotions is okay. You do have them. And for the women out there, ask them. Invite them in. You might be surprised at what comes out.
We are all unique beings. We've all got the masculine and the feminine within us. And we should tap into that. The most important thing is to love yourself, to believe in yourself, and to trust yourself. And you sort of talked about other people's thoughts about you. And it was just like, I remember standing in the kitchen one day and thinking, why am I worrying about what other people think about me when they're not? And if there's somebody who's behaving in that manner of, I'm quite capable of doing this, because I'm capable of doing an awful lot, but I don't do that. I wouldn't do that to somebody. If somebody opened the door for me, it would be thank you. It doesn't mean they think I'm incapable. It's because they're being a gentleman. So And sometimes might be a woman because that gentleman has got sticks or something. Let yourself be that thoughtful, considerate, caring person. It's got nothing to do with gender. It's got to do with the fact that we are all human beings. And what's the saying? We are all walking each other home. So, Stefania, any thoughts, final thoughts from you? And I've got your website, and I'm just about to put that in the chat. And for those of you watching this on YouTube, you'll find all this information underneath the video in the information there.
Yes, a message to all the men. Well, there's many messages, but just don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat it. Just, it's okay. Just tap into that playfulness and be curious. Just be curious, because in that curiosity you'll get the answers. And be curious with self. Not only curious with that other person or with other people around you. Be curious about yourself. Start that journey of self-exploration, of knowing who you are and what's really inside. It's just that soul's just wanting to come out and shine.
Beautiful.
Bless you. Thank you. And Stefania's website is thegentlemansquare.com. It's in, as I said, it's in the chat, and I will make sure it's under the video on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for joining us so early in the morning in Australia. So much appreciated. And obviously thank you to my co-hosts as well. It's been a real pleasure. And it's been a while since you've been on with us, so it's great to have you back. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate both Michael and Scott and yourself, Sarah. Thanks for having me back. And yeah, we can do this again some other catch-up time. It'd be great.
Bless you. Thank you. Next week, I'm being joined by Mary J. Frost, and she's going to be sharing healing, past, present, future, historical and cultural aspects common to healing traditions. I'm really looking forward to that because I love talking about healing. So sort of thank you. And there's so much about healing within our conversation today as well, on all levels for all of us. So I hope that you, and please connect with Stefania if anything here has spoken to you. Learn more from her website. And if you're a gentleman and you feel like joining her group, then sort of I'm sure she would be delighted to have you. Take care, be safe, stay well. Namaste, sweet souls.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.